Thank you for coming this morning despite this cold weather. Some of you have traveled really long hours on the plane, and some people have traveled from the southern part of Korea to be part of this conference this morning. So once again, I'd like to thank all the participants for coming to this international conference. So let us begin today's program. Yes, you may give me an applause. So the COVID is still not over, so we advise you to keep your mask indoors, except when you're drinking your water or drinks. And you probably have interpretation receivers on your desk. So receiver number 1, channel 1 is Korean and channel 2 is English. So most of the participants today will have a chance to speak sooner or later. So we will have a chance to introduce each other later. And before we do that, I would like to introduce some people from some institutions. First of all, this project was possible due to the sponsorship from the Korean Financial Industry Foundation. Mr. Park Jun-sik, the director of the foundation, is here with us this morning. Thank you very much. So with the support, with the Southeast Asian NGOs, we could carry out this project successfully. Also, Director Lee Yoon-gun from Wonjin Institute for Occupational and Environmental Health is also with us this morning. So the key topic of today's conference is pesticide, highly hazardous pesticides to remove or reduce this from Asia. This is the purpose of today's conference. So playing that role in Asia is from PAN-AP and Asia Pacific region. Saro is with us this morning. So in Southeast Asia, with the various NGOs in this region, we could carry out this project with them because and IPAN, the global network, played a huge role. And of IPAN network of South Asia Hub Coordinator, Ms. Alka is also here this morning. Thank you. And let me introduce one other person, and then I'll stop. From Professor Baek Do-myung from Seoul National University. He's also serving at the Green Hospital. With that, I have introduced the key participants this morning. Now let us kick off today's conference. So there are 3 parts in this conference. First, Asia Labor, Health and Environment Support Project. That's the scope of this project. And within this project, there are 3 topics. First is the EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, eliminating that. That's the first campaign. And second is today's topic, to campaign to reduce HHPs. And third is scheduled for next year, mercury poisoning, eliminating. That's the third campaign. So that's under the same project. So the EDC project has been conducted last year and earlier this year. And due to COVID-19, we could not hold a face-to-face meeting like today. So we had an offline conference. And now that we are together face-to-face this morning, we are here to congratulate. And to reduce PPT, we're going to listen to the stories of the participating organizations in HHP project and studies. And in the third part, we're going to hear insights and experience from the expert organizations. So the first part is kind of a preliminary part of the event. So let me first invite Director Park Jun-sik from the Korea Financial Industry Foundation, who will offer some words of welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Executive Director Park Jun-sik from KFIF, Korea Financial Industry Foundation. I welcome all of you who came from 7 countries, 10 organizations, and then working level people, and then people from government agencies, and KFIF is representing 100,000 laborers and 33 financial institutions. So we are the Public Trust Foundation. So we are covering the environment and global areas, considering the small loan finance, social responsibility, and then the education, culture, and arts to improve the society in terms of the discrimination and inequality, and to try to build sustainable society. And our foundation and the Wonjin Institute is working together. We started the EDC-free environment in Southeast Asia in 2021, and then we are working also to make a toxic pesticide-free environment in 2022. So we are working to have raising the awareness about the environmental hazards. And for this conference, we will release the results of our analysis and study about the hazards of the pesticides, which we found out through the sampling and then analysis. And then we are trying to come up with ways to build a safe society. And I'd like to thank all the environment experts who have been working together for us. And then I'd like to have take this opportunity to build a society free from EDC and free from toxic pesticide. And then also I'd like to ask for continued support from you. Thank you very much. And lastly, he asked for the continued support and assistance, which is very impressive to me. And secondly, we will invite a person who has supported us for a long time. This is Mr. Lee Yoon-gun.
Good morning, everyone. I am Director Lee Yoon-gun from the Wonjin Institute. As you know, our institute was first established with the compensatory payment for the injured who were exposed to carbon disulfide. So we were set up in 1999. So this is our 23rd anniversary. So we are now a young man, a 23-year-old, where you work really hard. So our motto at Wonjin is all the research should aim for causing social change by making social contribution. That's our goal at Wonjin. So last year in 2021, as Dr. Kim Won mentioned, children's exposure to EDC, we did a study and shared the outcome with you. And today we're dealing with the HHP, and next year we will deal with mercury poisoning. So in Asia, we are thinking about environmental issues and trying to find solutions together. So without the support of KFIF, the foundation, it would not have been possible to do this project. So once again, I'd like to extend my warm gratitude to the foundation. So what our activities, this is not about just generating reports. This is going to be a starting point. So with the NGOs from Asia, so we want the society to change. So healthy labor, healthy citizenship. So we want to really lay the foundation for achieving those goals. So once again, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Korea Financial Industry Foundation for their support and sponsorship. And we want to continue with our international alliance for achieving healthy labor and healthy citizenship. So I'd like to ask you to join us in these efforts. Thank you very much. Now that I listened to him, I forgot to introduce myself. I am leading the overall project. My name is Kim Won from Wonjin Institute. Very nice to meet you. As I mentioned earlier, this project was possible with the help of IPEN. So IPEN has two hubs in Asia. One is in the Philippines, the other is in India. That's for South Asia. So from the Philippines, Southeast Asia branch hub head Chin Ki, he or she really wanted to come, but he couldn't come. So he sent a video message. So let's please watch.
Annyeonghaseyo! Greetings from the Philippines. My name is Chinky Pilinyo Golye, and I am the Regional Coordinator of the International Pollutants Elimination Network, or IPEN, for the Southeast and East Asia region. It is my honor to welcome everyone to the Safe Agriculture Safe Asia Conference. For those who are not yet familiar with IPEN, we are a global network of around 600 public interest non-government organizations in more than 124 countries, forging a healthier world where people and the environment are not harmed by the production, use, and disposal of toxic chemicals. For the Southeast and East Asia region, we have around 50 participating organizations in 9 countries with varied initiatives and campaigns on protecting the environment and people's health. And I'm happy to say that many IPEN participating organizations in our region and in Asia as a whole are present at this conference. Agriculture is an important economic pillar in the ASEAN countries. Agricultural products from our countries play an important role in feeding the people in our region and other regions as well. The increasing demand for agricultural production has led our governments into modernizing agriculture. However, agricultural modernization, while it increased production, has led to the continued degradation of natural resources. Massive conversion of forest areas into production land and increasing use of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers have polluted air, water, and soil and affected the health of communities near or surrounding agricultural areas and all other ecosystems. Furthermore, with the increasing use of synthetic pesticides in crop production, many of the targeted pests began developing resistance, which led growers or farmers to use heavier doses to control them. In effect, the pesticides killed not only the targeted pests but also beneficial species in the ecosystem. More pesticides were then introduced to control secondary pests, and the quantities of pesticides being used continued to grow. I believe this is the main reason IPEN is also focusing its work on highly hazardous pesticides. In recent years, the term highly hazardous pesticides, or HHP, has been expanded and is now used to describe not only acutely toxic pesticides, but also pesticides that cause serious chronic health effects. While a lot of pesticides are already included in the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, we continue to work on ensuring that these hazardous pesticides are banned or strictly regulated in various countries. And we need to work harder in order to prevent or eliminate its harmful effects on the environment and public health. This conference is very relevant and timely as we continue to advocate for safe agricultural production in our region to advance the protection of the environment, ecosystems, and public health. I am sincerely grateful to the Wonjin Institute of Occupational and Environmental Health for initiating the significant project. Deep gratitude also to the Korea Financial Industry Foundation for supporting meaningful projects like this. Lastly, I would like to sincerely thank all our participating organizations in Southeast and East Asia for your active involvement in both the EDC Free Asia and Safe Agriculture, Safe Asia projects. May all the project results will be used in advancing your work in your respective countries. I wish this conference all the best. How I wish I could join you in person, but I am sure that I will see you all soon.
Let me explain about the second hub, which is the IPEN SA coding hub. And then we'd like to invite Ms. Alka from IPEN SA.
Namaste, annyeonghaseyo, and good morning. I hope I have said properly. So I'm Alka Dubey from Toxics Link, and today I'm representing IPEN South Asia region. IPEN International Pollutants Elimination Network. It is a global network forging a healthier world. Over 600 NGOs in more than 120 countries comprises IPEN and work to strengthen chemical and waste policies for a toxic-free future. To coordinate properly, IPEN is working through regional hubs. I'm representing South Asia Hub, and Chinky, whom we will listen soon, she's representing IPEN Southeast Asia Hub. So the IPEN South Asia Hub has 60 POs from Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. The POs work on diverse issues of waste, such as electronic waste, biomedical waste, plastic waste, chemicals like EDCs, highly hazardous pesticides, and other environmental and human rights issues. The region has a strong network of POs working on the ground with the communities, creating data, spreading awareness, working at the national and international policy levels. The POs in the region like CGFED in Nepal, ESDO in Bangladesh, CAJ in Sri Lanka, Toxics Link in India, to name a few, have been working on issues like waste, POPs, mercury, and EDCs for decades. They have played an instrumental role in generating data of national importance and have responsible for the development of many environmental regulations, for instance, lead paints. Since last 10 to 12 years, POs are working on lead-free paints, and thanks to their continuous efforts, now we have strict regulations in our country on leads in household paints. The POs also work at the global level to raise the national issues and work with the national delegates in addressing the issue of concern in some of the important international conventions like SAICM, Minamata Convention, and Stockholm Conventions. Although the region is threatened by many environmental concerns, our POs work on most of the chemicals issues, waste, plastic, and EDCs. The POs have conducted multiple reports on EDCs as PPA, phthalate, nonylphenol, and others, and have been constantly working on plastic waste, the quantum, the toxic chemicals in it, and waste dumping. The POs are well capacitated to further work on these issues to generate more data and conduct national campaigns. As the South Asia region is a developing region, the POs face concerns in terms of a reputed laboratory with sound technical capacity to get their products tested for the identified chemicals. Like in India, we are having problem to get BPA tested in food. And we didn't get, although we have very well advanced equipments, but they don't have standards or methodology. Similar issues goes with other POs in our region as well. Collaborating with a laboratory outside the country is a costly affair and is outside the scope of PO budget also. Thus, collaboration with Wonjin Institute to conduct these projects on the issues of concern is filling technical gaps. We are heartily thankful to Korea Financial Industrial Foundation to consider the depth of issues related to environment and health, human health, to understand the need of such studies and funding that helps to fill the financial gap. This also gives us more opportunity to work for the betterment of Asia region, generating Asia-specific scientific data to raise the issue on global platform like SAICM, Stockholm Convention, BRS Convention. From IPEN South Asia Hub, I also thanks to bring us together today at this platform to interact, to discuss, and celebrate the successful collaboration. We hope for long-term companionship, and once again, my sincere thanks to Korea Financial Industry Foundation. Thank you.
And next, we will invite people from 5 organizations who has been participating in the IDIS Korea. And then we have Mr. Chalani from Sri Lanka, CG, and we have Clara from Indonesia, Ekoton. And please come up front to share your greetings to. And then we have Priti from Bangladesh, Ekoton, and we also Lusana from Indonesia. And we also Ram from Nepal, Jakarta. So we'd like to hear from you about your opinion about the DC project. Thank you.
Morning and Aiboan. I'm Chalani Rupasinghe from Center for Environmental Justice, Sri Lanka. CJ is a national level environmental organization working towards the environmental justice for all. Our work mostly plays around evidence-based advocacy, but we are also an educator, researcher, and an activist, advocate, facilitator, and also a policy architect. It's a pleasure to have met colleagues from the Wonjin Institute of Occupational and Environmental Health. Our first collaboration was the research study and the project on EDC levels in erasers and thermal paper bales, which got quite a lot of media attention in Sri Lanka. Because they are very common consumer items among parents and teachers. So now we use these findings to educate teachers as well as parents on selecting safer products for their children. So I make this an opportunity to also thank the Institute for switching us in, and of course the Korea Financial Industry Foundation for their generous financial assistance, and also Tripti, that time regional coordinator, and also ALCA for bridging CEJ with the institution. I wish for a successful journey ahead, and it's a pleasure to be here.
예, 클라라.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Executive Director of Korean Financial Industry Foundation, Director of Wonjin Institute of Occupational and Environmental Health, and IPNC Coordinator, and all of the participants whom I love. My name is Eka Clara Budiarti, and you can call me Clara, and I'm Citizen Science Coordinator from Ekoton Foundation Indonesia. And first of all, thank you very much for inviting me as Ekoton representative. We appreciate to commit from Wonjin Institute of Occupational and Environmental Health to be attend on the discussion and synergize together with NGOs. And sir and madam, our foundation is focused on protecting the river from pollution with community river-based approach. And throughout our activities, pesticides are still not concerned. Even the riverbank sometimes used to be planned to residents, yeah. But we believe it also one of the invisible contributor pollution in the river too. So throwback in 2015, we ever collaborate with some researcher from France and found that the Brantas River fish have got the fish intersexuality. So in one fish body has two hormones, male and female. And this case is possible too with the endocrine disturbing chemical compound which dissolve from plastic and also from the pesticide too, yeah. But we hope the pesticide project not only protect the users but also environmental protect, and biotoxins will be impact in the human body who consume them. Okay, thank you very much.
Pretty.
Thank you very much and good morning. I am Priti from Environment and Social Development Organization, ESDO. So at first, I would like to express my enormous gratitude and thanks to Wonjin Institute for Occupational and Environmental Health and KFIF to create the opportunity to join the conference. ESDO, we have been working with Wonjin Institute on several sophisticated issues that are harming our health and environment. Some of the work we have done together are phthalates in erasers, BPA in cash receipts, mercury in cosmetics, which were considered as a very significant resources and also appreciated by the government of People's Republic of Bangladesh and other relevant stakeholders to work on. Your observation regarding the current situations of chemical pollution in Bangladesh as well as the global scenario and recommendations also added great value to our work. The new agriculture pesticide project also is expected to add a great value to our research as Bangladesh is an agricultural country. So safe pesticides and in our agriculture products will be considered as a significant input to our country and our society. Cooperation and encouragement from you always be a booster for us towards working on several initiatives in Bangladesh. So we shall continue to work together to ensure a sustainable environment and safer public health. I again would like to thank Wonjin Institute, KFIF, and IPAN for the collaboration. So we look forward to your continuous support in the future. Thank you so much.
네, 감사합니다. 로자나.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Rosana Devi. I came from Kita Pertiwi, environment NGO based in Solo, Indonesia. Thank you for Korean Financial Institute Foundation, Wonjin Institute, and IPAN and all partners came here. Thank you. This is a very good conference for us. Because environment is very important for our livelihood and for next our future. I wish with collaboration and working together have a better world for us. Thank you very much.
네, 마지막으로 람.
Lastly, Ram.
Thank you. I am Ram Charitra Shah, Executive Director of Center for Public Health and Environmental Development Nepal, which is an NGO work on mainly chemical safety issue and hazardous waste management. Would like to highly appreciate Wonjin Institute for Occupational and Environmental Health and KFIF for inviting me for this SASA conference. We would like to thank Wonjin Institute for Occupational and Environmental Health, KFIF, and IPAN for including our organization as the partner organization for EDC Free Asia 2022 project. With the support of Wonjin Institute for Occupational Environmental Health, CGFED was able to carry out the first ever EDC studies of phthalates in eraser and BPA in thermal paper in Nepal, that is serving as a eye-opening for many stakeholders, including the government of Nepal, and also helping towards envisioning the required regulatory framework in future. CGFED would be happy to participate in the second phase of EDC Free Asia and Perspective Mercury Project 2023 with increased scope, including national level activities at ground. Thank you once again, Wonjin Institute for Occupational and Environmental Health, KFIF, and IPAN for including CGFED as one of the partner organizations, and looking forward to participate in upcoming new initiative from the institute and financial agencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So please stay where you are. So of the POs, they prepared a plaque of appreciation to be delivered to the foundation. So we will do that. And then we'll take a group photo afterwards. Director, please come up. A plaque of appreciation.
Please come out here. Who carrying the plaque?
Multiple POs prepared the plaque of appreciation, so I cannot name everyone, every PO. But on behalf of all the POs, CGFED will award this plaque of appreciation to the foundation.
I will read the sentence on the plaque instead of you in Korean.
CGFED prepared this plaque appreciation, which says, we sincerely thank for the sponsorship of the foundation. Big round of applause, everyone. All the other POs, please line up in the back so that we can take a photo with all of you. Please stand in the back.
Let's take a picture with all of you.
After taking this photo, now we're going to take a group photo with everyone, all the participants. Please hold up this plate.
Okay, please, everyone, all the participants, please come up to take group photo together. Thank you very much. As I told you, as we commemorate, we first started our project for EDC-free Asia. It was 2021, and this year we did the second project to reduce or eliminate highly toxic pesticide. And for next year, we thought about what we should do or can do, and then we will hear from. Also, for our plan for 2023 project, I discussed that with the coordinator for EDC for Asia. And then so we talked about so we did the analysis of the phthalate from the erasers, and then you share the result with the people. And then we also looked at BPA from the receipts. So this was the project that we did so far. And on top of that, the civic organizations in Asia, there are many facts that they'd like to share with others. And this is the list of the prioritized project. And then on top is placed the BPA. And then this is used for, BPA is used for the consumer items for children, like the cups. And BPA for the bottle for the babies. We didn't have an experience about this, so for us to prepare, I think we will need more time. So, so we couldn't put that at the first priority of our project. And the second was the PFAS. So this is for food packaging, the wrapping textiles for pizzas or chickens. So there was high concern about this chemical, and IPAN is doing the project globally on this chemical. So we put that on the lower part of the list, and then EDC came up. So out of the EDCs, we selected the ingredient from the toothpaste, and which is triclosan, and then we also have many items for COVID-19, and then one of them is EDC, which was included in the items for COVID-19. So we looked at the high prioritized project themes, and also after looking at those items, the triclosan from toothpaste and antibacterial item, which is used for the COVID-19 items. So those two will be done next year. So I explained this very into detail. So the priority is very important, but the practicality is also taken into consideration for us to take up the possible project for next year. So next year will be EDC Free Asia Season 2. And so we categorized 4 target chemicals, triclosan and paraben, and so we have the target products which have used the paraben and triclosan, like the target chemicals. So we'll work with the 10 NGOs in Southeast Asia and South Asia. And secondly, this was originally planned before, but we couldn't do it. It was small mining industry related project. So to extract gold from the mining, the miners use mercury very often. So the mercury is very much exposed to the miners, but also the miners' families. So we are planning on initiating the mercury-related project. So we are thinking about 3 projects. One is EDC Free Asia Season 2 to study on the paraben and triclosan, and also we will work on the mercury and mercury products. So we will have the support from KFIF, and also we will utilize networking involving KFIF and then Wonjin Institute and the target countries. So for the success of the project, so as the executive director from KFIF told us, if there is a very continuous support, I think I'm very hopeful that we can have this kind of conference every year starting next year. So this is the rough idea of the project that we will do starting next year. So when the project is materialized and generate the benefit or result, we will get together again for us to share the result. So this is the pre-conference event, and then we will move on to the result of our analysis for the EDC Free Asia project. So the first presentation will be, so this person has done a great job, did a lot of work. So he did the sampling from the product in the market, and then did the analysis. And so we invite Mr. Choi In-jer from the Wonjin Institute, and then share the result of his analysis. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Nice to meet you. From Southeast Asia pesticide study outcome I'm going to share with you. My name is Choi In-jer from Wonjin Institute. Very nice to meet you. So the goal of this study, first, to investigate whether the samples contain banned or pesticides or highly hazardous pesticides. Secondly, they investigate various media to indicate pesticide exposure sources. Those were the two objectives of the study. CGFED from Malaysia, CAP. So from 3 countries, 4 NGOs participated. So sample collection by NGO. Each NGO had different types of samples based on their purposes. So patches, home dust, crops, urine. So we took 687 samples for analysis. Methods, standardized testing method we use, or also we refer to the literature. Results. As you see, the number of samples were great, and we looked at various media. So the result that I'm sharing today, I'm going to just keep it simple and short. So with the NGOs, we have already reported the results with each of these participating NGOs. First, the pesticides detected in the samples. There are differences in samples. So 568 compounds were analyzed, and 125 chemicals were detected. So if you look at the content, mostly fungicides and insecticides, and organochloride, pyrethroid, and organophosphate types of insecticides were mainly found. And highly hazardous pesticides, list of PAN and banned pesticide list, and children poisonous list, and from use CRM list we reviewed. 120 of 125, 66 were highly hazardous. There are differences between countries. In Malaysia, 5, Vietnam, 7, Philippines, 1 were banned pesticides in each of their country, especially children poisonous. 14 of them were included, compared with the European Union CMR. 26 were can be categorized as CMR substances. So we looked at them by sample. In crops, 103 pesticides were detected, and 48 of them were banned or approved, not approved by the EU. The red ones are HHPs, and chlorpyrifos, and the thick texts are the ones that are banned in that country. In dust, 60 pesticides were detected. Of them, 35 are banned or not approved by the EU. And the red ones are HHP. Chlorpyrifos, carbapenem, DDT are banned to be used in Vietnam at the moment. So in urine sample, mostly we analyzed the metabolites. Pesticides and organic phosphate. We analyzed 9 type of insecticide metabolite, permethrin, delta-nitrine metabolites, and pesticides type of non-specific metabolites, and parathion chlorpyrifos metabolites were the main substances that were detected in the urine samples by 3 NGOs in urine sample. Metabolites that were frequently found: CCI, CGFED, parathion chlorphene, which are banned in Vietnam. In IDIS, parathion metabolites, which are banned in the Philippines, they were found in more than 90% of the urine samples. So of the substances that are detected, we compared with the result of the biomonitoring results of Korea and the US. So subjects are farmers and spouses and children. So when we compared in all the substances, all the chemicals in our outcome were higher in our urine samples compared with the results of the other studies. By group, in children's urine, say PBA, PMB, PCPY, chemical concentrations were higher than in children in Korea and US because parathion chlorpyrifos organic phosphate pesticide, we are exposed to that more. By NGO, I'm going to show you the outcome. Vietnam CGFED, the farmers' household dust and urine pesticide monitoring was conducted. The table on the left is in the home dust pesticide summary table. So permethrin, sulfametrin, pyrethroid type of chemicals were found in the dust, and pyrethroid DDT and banned substances were found in some samples. On the right graph, in farm, the distance between home and farm within 1 kilometer, more than 1 kilometer, we look at the concentration difference depending on the different distance. Especially in dust, as I said earlier, pyrethroid type of chemicals were the majority, and in home dust within 1 kilometer, the concentration was higher. Urine metabolite concentration, we looked at whether there's a difference by distance, especially in children's group, child group. Pyrethroid metabolite concentration was higher, and when in compared by distance within 1 kilometer home children, the urine concentration was higher. So the scale and box plot of this graph, please look at this explanation. To summarize, in case of CGFED, pesticides banned in Vietnam were found in household dust and urine. This may indicate current use or persistence, like in DDT. The concentrations of cis and trans DCCA and 3-BPA in urine of children living within 1 kilometer of the farm were higher than the concentrations of the children living more than 1 kilometer away from the farm. Environmental factors surrounding children may have contributed to the higher exposure to pesticides. It is suspected that the farm is one of the main sources of pesticide exposure. Next, CCI in Vietnam, we mainly looked at occupational exposure in farm workers. In urine samples, this is a graph that summarizes the chemicals that detected in urine samples. Chlorpyrifos metabolite, TCPY, was the highest value, and the farmer and higher sprayer group and spouse and children, that was a classification. So higher sprayer group showed the highest concentration of all the chemicals that we looked at. So the right table shows the number of cases exceeding 95th values. Again, hired sprayer group shows the highest value. To summarize, hired sprayers' occupational exposure was higher compared with other community members, and the highest exposed pesticide was chlorpyrifos that is banned in Vietnam. Even though chlorpyrifos and parathion is banned in Vietnam, their metabolites are widely present in urine, indicating possibly illegal use. Next, in Philippines IDIS, the difference in pesticide exposure depending on the distance between the house and the farm. So comparison of major pesticide by location in dust collected from IDIS in Philippines. So distance from the farm within 30 meters, 500 meters or longer than 500 meters. So within 30 meters, the dust concentration was the highest, especially carbamate. The difference depending on the distance was most distinguished in carbamate. In urine metabolites, we also analyzed by distance, especially EDC urine sample, TCPY, PMP, 3-PBA. In those odors, the concentration was high. Pyrethroid insecticide was high, especially in child group. If you look at the distance comparison, within, nearby, far, in that order, the concentration was high. To summarize, the highest concentration of pyrethroid, carbamate, and organophosphate insecticides was in dust samples collected from farmers' houses within 30 meters of the farm. The urinary metabolites of non-specific pyrethroid pesticides, parathion, and chlorpyrifos were highest in people closest to farm. PMP metabolites of parathion banned in Philippines were detected in all subjects, indicating possible illegal use again. From Malaysia's CAP, we looked at pesticide exposure from food. Rice and crops, 130 samples were taken. 132 samples were taken, so we'll analyze the pesticide residues. CPP 10 ppm or higher pesticide residues were detected in 82.6% of the crop samples. 96 out of 511 compounds were detected in 132 crop samples. Of the 96 chemicals, 51 pesticides found in crops are banned or not approved by the EU, and the red ones are 38. They categorized as HHPs. And the thick text, aldicab, metaminopos, the 4 chemicals that are found in crops that are banned in Malaysia. Other than over 10 ppE, compared with the international limit for pesticides, 3 chemicals were found to go over the threshold. So this is a pesticide residues in crops collected from CAP in Malaysia. So insecticide and fungicides were the main, and the concentration distribution was almost even. The summary of CAP outcome: of the 96 pesticides found in crops, 50 were highly hazardous pesticides, and 4 were banned in Malaysia. And insecticides and fungicides were detected as significant components in crops. So it is necessary to manage insecticides not only during cultivation but also during transportation and storage. So let me share with you the conclusion of the overall study. Highly hazardous pesticides were frequently detected in various samples. There were some differences from country to country. 7 in Vietnam, 4 in Malaysia, and 1 in Philippines were chemicals that were banned in each country, but they were still detected. 48 chemicals from crop and 35 they are either banned in the EU or not approved. In Vietnam and Philippines, then chlorphenicol and paragion, they were found in the urine sample in high concentration. Detecting metabolite means the exposure is relatively recent. So this indicates possible illegal use. Third conclusion, pesticide exposure to community around the field was high. Other than occupational exposure, especially in child group, in Korea and US, compared with US and Korea, the metabolite concentration was higher in children. Especially the environmental factors surrounding children may have contributed to the higher exposure to pesticides. And it might be suggested that the family have similar pesticide exposure source, such as eating habits and living environments. And hired sprayers' occupational exposure to pesticide was higher compared to community members, which need to be managed. The closer to the pesticide sprayed field, the higher the pesticide exposure concentration was detected. Environmental exposure is presumed to be one of the possible sources to pesticide, and buffer zone for pesticide exposure is needed. Lastly, pesticide residue. Insecticides and fungicides were mostly detected. So again, strict pesticide management during cultivation, transportation, and storage is needed. That's all. Thank you for listening. I covered a lot of details and I tried to convey them in a very short time. So I've been very busy talking. So I hope you refer to the slides for better understanding. Thank you very much.
So the content was so complicated because it involves the analysis and the result. So there should be the limitations on sharing and then explaining the result of the analysis. But the result should be understandable for everybody so that we will edit the result so that all the laymen can understand the result. And in fact, when we plan those projects, we have some concerns sometimes whether we will have the expected result, but at the end of the day, we find out that all the results that we have came up are very useful and successful than we expected. And most of all, children are exposed to hazards, and then it was very apparent based on the result of the project, which is very important message. And we involved 4 organizations and 3 countries for this project. So for each organization, so I think that every organization has different objective for this project, and also we have the opportunity to hear from them. The first one is from Malaysia, CAP. From Malaysia, we will invite Ms. Hatiza Hashim from CAP. So she will share her experience with us. So we visited CAP one time, and CAP is a very large-sized civic organization in Malaysia. And one time, they had more than 100 researchers working for her, and now she has more than 30 researchers working for her with her. And so approximately, I guess, she has been working on this area for more than 40 years. So please
Thank you very much. And myself and also my colleague, Encik Zulkifli, were involved in this project. So first of all, I'd like to thank Wonjin Institute and also our Korean Financial Industry Foundation for making this project a success in Malaysia. Okay, first of all, I'd like to introduce my organization, that is the Consumers Association of Penang, and it was established in 1969. And our motto is that give a voice to the little people. It is a grassroots, non-profit civil society organization based in Malaysia, and our aim is to promote critical awareness and action among citizens in order to uphold consumer rights and interests. And our activities include engaging in the education, community mobilization, research, advocacy, training, and publication. And we are also dedicated to help citizens to become more responsible consumers and protect them from abuse and malpractices in the marketplace, exposing unethical business behavior such as using hazardous materials in products, food, and pharmaceuticals. During our 50-year-old journey to make the world a better place, CAP has had a profound impact on Malaysian society with regards to consumer rights, environmental protection, health and nutrition, school and public education, public interest law, and training of community leaders to protect our livelihood and enhance income. So this is our newsletter, that is Utusan Consumer. And we actually publish this in 4 languages. The local languages, that is English, Bahasa Malaysia, Mandarin, and also Tamil. Presently, in the Malaysian government actually encourages the use of pesticide in agriculture. Farmers are actually given financial aid to purchase pesticide, and the illegal pesticides are also available to farmers. And these illegal pesticides is so easily available that anyone can go to the shop, and if he knows you, if you're a farmer, then he will just sell it to you. And it is a rampant abuse of the law. And many farmers are actually unaware of the dangers of pesticides and do not practice the required safety procedure to handle pesticides, such as the wearing of protective safety gear. Pesticides are normally applied by foreigners who are not trained in the procedure. There is no proper storage place for keeping the pesticides. Sometimes it is kept in the same storeroom with tools and food. Empty pesticide containers are being disposed of at random, even though there are some places that have been designated for it. So here you can see these pictures of how the pesticides situation in Malaysia actually. So the farmer is actually it's not a farmer, it's a foreign worker that is, spraying. And this is the situation that when we survey the farms, this is what we saw. And on the side of the consumers, Malaysian consumers are unaware about the extent and types of pesticides used on the local agricultural produce. Where vegetables are concerned, the government collects samples from farm and sends them for testing at government laboratories. However, the results are not made public. The government claims that the local agricultural produce are safe for consumption, but they are sometimes rejected overseas due to the high pesticide content. And these rejected vegetables actually come back to the Malaysian consumers. CAP had wanted to test our local vegetable for pesticide residue, as it is an issue of food safety. However, we were unable to do so due to financial and technical constraints. So we are very grateful with the help of Wonjin Institute and also the funders, the Korean Financial Industry Foundation, to help us to make this project a reality. For this study, a total of 112 samples of vegetables and 20 samples of rice were tested for presence of pesticides, out of which 98 samples, or 87.5% of vegetables, and 11 samples, or 55% of rice, were found to contain pesticide. Samples were purchased from various outlets such as supermarket, hypermarket, wet market, mini market, and retail shops in Penang. And what are the laws on pesticide residue in Malaysia? So the legislation pertaining to pesticide residue in crops is under the 16th schedule, Regulation 41 of the Food Regulation 1985. And only the pesticide mentioned in the schedule, together with the MRL, are allowed to be present in the respective crops. So when the samples were evaluated, we found that the number of active compounds present were actually enormous. For example, in the vegetable celery, it contained from 7 to 35 active compounds. So it's hardly that you're actually eating the pesticide. So this is another evaluation of the results, where we found that 55 pesticides were banned or not approved by the EU were found to be present in the Malaysian samples, and most of these are highly hazardous pesticides. And we also found that 4 pesticides were banned, but they were actually used on the samples. So there were a number of crops found to contain pesticides that were not allowed to be present in it, even though these pesticides are actually allowed. But for example, abamectin, which is only allowed to be used in fruits such as watermelon, cucumber, and tomato, was found in celery and spring onion. And carbofuran, which is allowed only in rice, was found in some leafy vegetables. And this pesticide will be banned from being next year. And some form of pesticides such as malathion and metafluramizone were also present, and this actually used on for flea. What we want to share with consumers is that we will have a press conference and announce the results. And we'll also write to our government to enforce and monitor good farming practices. We'll call on our government to conduct education program for farmers to educate them on hazards of pesticides use. We hope the results will drive consumers to demand for better food production practices through their power of consumption. At our community education program, we will warn consumers of the pesticides in their food and encourage them to purchase pesticide-free vegetables or grow their own organic. This is our campaign, which we are calling for natural farming for sustainable living. So these are some of the pictures taken at the project. Where CAP is concerned, we are advocating for consumers to grow their own vegetables. Presently, we are promoting better agriculture practices like organic and natural farming. CAP hope that we'll be able to have future cooperation with Wonjin Institute to expand our pesticide monitoring to other states in Malaysia. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다.
So as for the introduction, you told us that the Malaysia, she shared the current situation of the illegal use of pesticide. So for that result, she looked at the scientific-based evidences. So I hope that her result can be spent out for other areas too. And she also told us about the shift of the agriculture practice for the organic culturing.
Next is from Vietnam, CCI. Please share with us. So CCI, it's unique because it's an NGO that's within a university in Vietnam. And the members are very capable researchers there. When we contacted them first, already they have completed a 5-year research project. One of them was measuring and analyzing the pesticides. So please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Thanh from the Climate Change Institute in Vietnam. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Wonjin Institute and Korean financial agency to support us to do this research. It's very important, in the Mekong Delta in terms of evidence for our upcoming campaign to the policymaker to change, to eliminate high hazardous pesticide use in the Mekong Delta. The Climate Change Institute of An Giang University is based in the Mekong Delta. We established in 2003, and we are doing research, mostly in research in agricultural sustainability and also work on agricultural development policy campaign. And another one, we research on water governance and in terms of environmental management and climate change adaptation, farmer in the Mekong Delta. And our vision is to promote an environmentally friendly oriented agricultural development for better human adaptation to climate change in the Mekong Delta. Vietnam, after 1986, the government can move the country from plans to market-oriented, economy. So we still focus on rice economy, and currently in the Mekong Delta, the government, continue to foster the agricultural intensification by to build a lot of install series of dike and embankment to prevent floods. Become the Mekong Delta is flooding area. So we in the past we just produce 1 or 3 dry crop a year, but now we increase to 3 crop a year. That's problem. This cause the environmental effect, especially the soil and water and natural fishery. Recently, the government tried to change to the more green agricultural production. However, the high farmer, this region still use very high level of agrochemical and in the field. So we think that we need more campaigns and more research about this, and to encourage people to change their behavior and practice in agricultural production. Our current research is on study on the traditional rice-based ecological farming system to restore soil fertility and aquatic resources to adapt to climate change in the upper part of the Mekong Delta. So this research, which to An Giang province, is location in the river heads of the Mekong River, and this study is purpose is we do different activity. The first is baseline research on the current environmental pollution, especially focused on rice and water, soils on water. Associated, we just focus on rice production, not other like vegetable or other crop. And second, we study on the impact of hazardous agrochemical use on rice production, health and environment. The third one, we introduce an alternatives in agricultural production in rice system in An Giang province. And finally, we are going to organize some conference and workshop, and to work with local government to change, and the policy on rice production in this region. But we carry several research on this, but most of research limits on qualitative research, and we lack of expertise and professional on the lab analysis, especially the environment, the pollutions of soil water in the Mekong Delta. So we believe that the funding support from and the personal support from Wonjin Institute contributes significantly to our research. Have a look on the location. It's the Mekong Delta and the research site in An Giang province. We collect the sample of urine, soil, water, and rice in 3 districts in An Giang province. This is our methodology. We go work on the field to collect the samples. Just very brief, finding on this, because INCHA already present very detailed on in previous study, And we can see that we focus on two groups of our pesticide sprayer. The first one is the higher pesticide sprayer who work for other farmer, and the second group we collect urines of a normal farmer, and the total it's around 60 sample. And we also collect the urine from their wives and children, to see whether the pesticide also exposed on their family member. And you can see in the first table the number of hour, of the sprayer, the high sprayer much higher than farmer, and the number of days they spraying a pesticide nearly double, double, so compared to farmer. So this group of people, more exposed to pesticide use in the Mekong Delta. And for the method to protect their health during applying pesticide, we also do the survey on these households, and we found that most of farmer and both the higher pesticide sprayer and farmer, they don't pay much attention to how to use the protective equipment when they're applying pesticide. Especially the medical mask, is very low, and because they feel tired, when they're working on the site. So and although the glove and during mixing the pesticide, very very low. This is just a picture who apply the pesticide. They rarely wear the mask, medical mask. A short video. And you can see this is the compound, power on the after analysis. We can see the rest color is the several compound we found on the urines of farmer. It's very high. And here we can see 10 pesticide found on urine and crop, which are banned in Vietnam, which are banned or not approved by Europe, but we still found in the urine of farmer in the Mekong Delta. And in which most of these are highly hazardous pesticide. It's nearly 80% of the sample. And two pesticide found in crop, in dry crops, are banned in Vietnam, but they still, found on the crop. I think they still use pesticide illegal, so the government banned already, but they still use by the farmer. And here different group of sample. So you see the red color. It's very significant. This is the first time we do this such kind of analysis. I think it's very important to work with the health department in An Giang province to concern about this. And here to compare, the farmer and higher sprayer to exposed to pesticide to other farmer in Korea and US. You can see it's, in Vietnam is the level much higher, and it's very significant. And also the children we compare to, especially to Thailand, it's quite similar agricultural production, but the level nearly like 10% and then 10 times higher than children in Thailand. Here we also collect rice crop, and we found that we could collect 30 sample, and in which 21 sample already found the pesticide on this. We didn't find much on water, only 2 among 10. But in soil, you can see it in the second graph, is most of the districts, polluted with the high hazardous pesticide in soil. To summary, you can see that around 63% of pesticide found urine and crop are banned and not approved by Europe, but still found in the Mekong Delta. And two pesticide found in crop and urine are banned by Vietnam, but still found in the Mekong Delta. And we can see that highly occupational exposure to both farmer and sprayer, and the higher sprayer, much more exposure to pesticide in the Mekong Delta. And exposure to pesticide among children in the Mekong Delta is the most concern from our team research, and you can see it is higher than children from US and Thailand. And another one important finding is on family member are more likely to expose together to pesticide, because in the past we just think the farmer who work in the field exposed to pesticide, but now we can see that the children and wife also exposed together. And nearly 75% rice sample are collected is found detected pesticide compounds. And pesticide compound we found in mud and soil sample, but I mentioned the water is not significant. You can see the map of the Mekong Delta. Is the planning for the future. So the government still focus on rice reduction in upper part of the Mekong Delta. You can see the yellow color. It's still intensify rice area. So for next, what we do next, after this, we have the scientific result. We will organize some conference. Firstly, we organize in 3 locations where we collect the sample to present our result to the farmer to raise awareness about pesticide use in these locations. The second one, maybe early next year, we organize conference in Nanyang University and invite government officer and other researcher and agency to work on this issue. And currently we do the conservation of traditional growing system on rice, and we combine with fishery. We hope that in the future, the government will release the dye system for blood water, and they so that the settlement can come and can restore the delta from the pesticide. And that's the just brief finding from our group. Thank you very much for attention. And
thank you. As you've seen in the presentation, the CCI is located where it is. You can run 3 crops a year. Great climate, but very intensive. Rice production is very active at the moment. A lot of agrochemicals are used in large volumes, so CCI is raising an issue of that. As you've seen in the outcome, various hazardous agrochemicals, not just pesticides, but legally banned ones are also being used today. So CCI future research and citizen campaigns, NGO campaigns can find these findings very useful. Let's move on.
The next presentation is by Vietnam CGFED, and then the presenter will share his experience in there. And CGFED, when I visited there, the representative, he contributed the building to the organization, so the members can conduct their activities there, based in there. And the members, all of them had all the literature and then all the art related background. But when they did the sampling, scientific sampling, they didn't have the experienced before, but they successfully completed all the process. It was very impressive. Thank you very much.
안녕하세요. Good morning, everybody. My name is Phương Hải from CGFED, a local NGO in Vietnam. And first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the KFIF and also the Wonjin Institute for having us here to have the presentation today at the conference. Yeah. And my presentation today is about the environmental impact on the of the pesticides on the farmers and their family that we have conducted with the collaboration and support from the Wonjin Institute in May of 2022. And first of all, I'd like to introduce about CGFED, who we are and what we have done. You know that CGFED is our short name, and which stands for the Research Center for Gender, Family and Environment in Development. We are a Vietnamese local NGO which was established in 1993, and we bring together of the both national and international research to conduct the research and also action research on the issues of the gender, family and environment in Vietnam. And our mission is to act for gender equality based on the values of freedom and diversity and human rights. So about the main activity that CGFED has focused on since the establishment of our organization. Firstly, we make the efforts to empower the disadvantaged group to the promotion of the gender equality and the sexual and reproductive health and rights. And the second main area is to action to advocate for the issues of pesticide use reduction, gender and mining, gender issues and heavy metal and other chemical which is hazardous and heavily impact to the human health, especially for the impact for the women and the children in the rural areas of Vietnam. And also the third area that we have focused on is to promote for the gender sensitivity in the media, law and education. Based on that, we try to abolish the gender stereotype in Vietnam and also in the media and education system. And also we have used the media as the effective tool of advocate for the issue that we have followed since the establishment. And about the pesticide, it is the area that CGFED has put the priority since 2008, when we first time we became a member of the Pesticide Action Network in Asia and Pacific, which was the short name of PAN-AP. And in this conference, you will have the sharing from the leader of PAN-Asia, that is Madame Saro, who is also sit here in this conference. And also in recent year, when we become a member of IPAN, the network is also put on the priority to this area. And the next slide, I would like to briefly give you the information about the context of pesticides used in Vietnam. And our country is one of the countries that use the pesticide with a high level than the other country. And annually, Vietnam spends from 5 to 7,000 US dollars on pesticides, importing pesticides in the past 5 years. And but up to 80% of the pesticide used in Vietnam was used in not a correct way and like wasteful because it was too much. And about the location where we conduct the research, which was located in Nam Định province. This is the northern province, which located in the south of the river, Red River Delta in the north of Vietnam. And 56% of the land in this province was for the agricultural cultivation. In Nam Định province, Nam Định province annually use around 600 tons of pesticides, which was 4 times higher than the real demand of this province. And Nam Định is also famous for the rice plant in our country, especially in the north of Vietnam. And that's why we see that the agriculture and the living environment in this province was heavily polluted due to the abuse of pesticides. And the need of, we see the need of having the monitoring activity of pesticide use in this area. And under the scope of support from the PAN-AP, we have conducted the CPAM monitoring, which is for the community participatory action monitoring, which was involved the participation from the farmer in the local site, and they participate in on the whole process of monitoring, so that they can explore themselves about the habit of using pesticides and also the symptom that they themselves and the other farmers in the local sites they have been experienced. And from that they can realize the real impact on the community that they are living, and also the surrounding environment. And in Nam Định province, due to the scope of financial support and the scope of activity, we just only conduct the activity in one district of Nam Định province, that was Hải Hậu district. And this is the first study that was funded by the KFF and the technical support from the Wonjin Institute to collect the more strong evidence to add it with the current result that CGFED have achieved under the financial and technical support from PAN-AP in our community. And we do hope that the finding and the results that has been collected from this activity will be the strong evidence for us to use as the tool of the communication and advocate with the local community, with the farmer themselves, and also with the authority in our community. And the next slide is about the study, and because the first part was the very first part was presented by the Wonjin Institute. So to save time, I will not repeat again. Just about the introduce about the location where we conduct the research, which was in the Hải Cường commune and the Hải Hậu district in. And the target group we have conducted to collect the sample, including the farmer who directly use the pesticides and spray the pesticide, and the children and their family member. And about the sample we have collected in total of 293 samples, including the pest sample, dust sample, crop, vegetable, and urine. But due to the custom regulation among Korea and Vietnam, 45 sample of the crop and vegetable had been sent to the domestic laboratory in Hanoi for analysis, and the rest was sent to the Wonjin Institute for lab analysis here. And about the participant, yeah, sorry. And about the roles of the two sides between CGFED and Wonjin Institute during the research from the preparation to the implementation of this research. We have the Wonjin Institute keep the main role to not only to coordinate the whole project with the other PO, but also they provide the guidance, even the training and technical support with the CGFED team. And unfortunately, when we conduct this research in Hai Ho district in early of May, I remember the expert from Wonjin Institute, when they arrived to Vietnam, that was around 1 month after the north of Vietnam was in the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the local community they are not ready to welcome the foreigners expert to arrive to the community due to the pandemic restriction of the health system. So that's why the expert from the Wonjin Institute, they mainly work with the CGFED when they first arrived to Hanoi, and after that we will come to travel to the field trip and provide the training with the local farmer there and with the local partner there, and the direct support maybe through the telephone with the expert from Wonjin Institute. And also the Wonjin Institute in charge of the lab analysis of the collect sample. And CGFED will coordinate all of the local activity in Vietnam and also in the research site. About the result, sorry. Well, the findings that Dr. Che was present in the first presentation of this project, we found that many pesticides that was banned or not approved in the Europe, even in Vietnam, or even in the list of 20 banned highly hazardous pesticide from PAN, was found in the sample collected by CGFED in Vietnam. And you can see from the presentation of the other organization from the south of Vietnam, you can see that we have the same finding of this ban or not approved of pesticides. And from the finding, we have found that many kinds of active ingredients for insecticide were detected in the dust sample. And this was reflect from the habit of using the insecticides in the home of the local people in the commune, and also even in the district, because we also collect the control sample to compare. And dust is a well-known exposure source for the hazardous chemical to the children. And we see that not only the concern should be put on the pesticide issue, but also should be put on the insecticides issue. And the second thing we found that the level of exposure in children is relatively higher than that in the children in US and Korea. And the level of the exposure in the children was similar to the farmer, and we see that it might come from the same source of exposure to the pesticides of this group. And about the vegetable, it was contaminated with various kinds of pesticides, and the intake of vegetable in the local community was was the main source of the pesticides exposure. And the banned or not approved pesticides in the Europe and even in Vietnam was found in the collect sample in our community. And we also learned a lot from the Wonjin Institute about the sample collection in this research, as because this is the first time our organization conduct this kind of activity to collect the sample, which is not only the vegetable, but also how to collect the dust, how to collect the pest by instruct the local farmer to use the protective glove and to collect the pest that was put to the protective glove in different spots, and also the way that we coat and keep and restore the sample for transfer from Vietnam to Korea. It was a very completed process, and especially for the urine, we also have to collaborate with the local health staff to collect and to store the sample before sending to the Korea. And our upcoming plan, and our upcoming plan is that we will try to consult with the Wonjin Institute to produce the understandable report that is easily to understand for the not only the local authority but also the farmer themselves, because we think that this finding of the research is very important to share back with the farmer who have directly involved in this project. And also based on the summary, we will produce the media toolkit to share with the media and journalists of CGFED who we know that they are interested in this issue. And we think that once announced, this kind of information will make a surprise to the media or journalists in our country. And we think that in Vietnam we have two different organizations, NGO, located in two areas of Vietnam. And if we have the chance to share and to combine the results that have been collected and analysis from these two organizations, I think that the evidence for communication and advocacy in our progress will be more stronger. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you very much. So you explained about the CGFED. CGFED, as you told us, they highlighted the issue in the Vietnam that the pesticides is used in an improper way, and it is wasted and misused, and then the dust or the vegetables used in every household is highly found. And then this is the very hazardous source for the exposure to the children and the families. And then we'll invite Mark from Philippines to share his experience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. And good morning, everyone. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. I am Mark Piñalver. I am from IDIS, Interfacing Development Interventions for Sustainability. It is a Davao-based, a local NGO from Mindanao. And would like to take this opportunity again to, I know you've been hearing this all this morning, but thank you so much to the Wonjin Institute and of course, Korea Financial Industry Foundation. Thank you so much for your support, and hopefully we will continue this partnership next. Thank you so much. So allow me to introduce our organization first. So yeah. So Interfacing Development Interventions for Sustainability is an environmental nonprofit, non-governmental organization based in the Philippines, specifically in Davao City, in the island of Mindanao. And we are dedicated to the protection and sustainable management of our watersheds, specifically in South Central Mindanao. And of course, as an organization, we are working for watershed protection through multidisciplinary approaches, such as policy advocacy, and as what mentioned earlier, the Wonjin Institute objective is for research to have a social change. For our organization, we use research to make policy changes and of course, social change as well. And we also conduct networking, coalition building, education and information, media advocacy, public awareness, and research and publication. So the objective of this campaign is, to have a background, Davao City is the biggest or largest city in Mindanao in terms of land area. And it covers 8 watersheds. That is why it's very crucial for us to really protect our watersheds in Davao. And just recently, Davao City is planning to top a surface water to be produced or to be consumed by Davaoenos. That is why it's very important to really look at the threats that is being faced by these watershed area. And the project area that we focused on during this study is very, very critical because it is located near banana plantations and other monocrop plantations. That is what we call the Panigan-Tamugan watershed. Okay. Sorry. So this is our project area, the Panigan-Tamugan watershed. This is a very critical area because right now it's being developed to be the next source of drinking water of Davao City. And Davao City is very proud to say that we have one of the cleanest and safest water, well, not just in the Philippines, but we are claiming it to be one of the best waters in the world. So that is why it is very important to protect our watershed. So as you can see, these green areas are banana plantations, and the orange ones are pineapple plantations. And it is very close to the Panigan-Tamugan watershed. So Panigan-Tamugan watershed, pineapple and banana monocrop plantations, rather, of fruit exporting companies have insufficient buffer zone. So we have identified, or we've been lobbying this buffer zone requirement to monocrop plantations since 1999. IDIS was created because of these banana plantations and monocrop plantations in 1999. Because we found, or we saw, how dangerous banana plantations are in nearby residences and of course in our watersheds. That is why we've been campaigning for these buffer zones. And with this study, this will strengthen our campaign and of course in influencing our policymakers and our local government to come up with stricter policies and of course implement these policies on the ground. And the local watershed in 2007, this prohibits aerial spraying. So we've been lobbying for the banning or regulation of pesticides in farming, but we also lobby for the regulation of how these pesticides are being applied in agricultural areas. So in 2007 or in 2010, we lobbied for the banning of aerial spraying as a method of applying pesticides in monocrop plantations. However, in 2016, our Supreme Court of the Philippines declared it unconstitutional because the local government unit does not have the authority to ban such practice. It is only within the Fertilizers and Pesticides Authority, which is a national government, that is authorized or has the authority to ban such practice. So unfortunately, our ordinance was declared unconstitutional. Yeah. So apart from a large-scale monocrop plantation, small-scale farmers also use various chemicals, insecticides and pesticides in their small-scale farms. And even the city has already passed the Organic Agriculture Ordinance. An alternative solution are not yet widely adopted by local farmers nor available in their local markets. So we passed our own Organic Agriculture Ordinance in Davao City. We have a national organic agriculture law, but before that, the city first came up with its organic agriculture. And with that local organic agriculture ordinance, the national government followed suit. So Davao City has been known for landmark policies in terms of new policies being passed. Another objective is it is important to study the levels of pesticide exposure and contamination of local residents through urine and household dust sampling. It's very important because we are looking at the impact of pesticides in human health, not only in the environment, but also in human health. And we will find out later how these pesticides affect people near, within, or far from monocrop plantations. And it is essential to analyze the chemical drift because we are trying to lobby again to strengthen the buffer zone establishment within this monocrop plantation. So it is very important to analyze the chemical drift or the pesticide drift within and 30 meters from plantation boundaries, nearby households, which is within 500 meters from the plantation, and far communities or more than 500 meters from the plantation. And the results of the study will provide technical support on recommending policies and regulations for agricultural systems, including buffer zone requirements, low-risk spraying methods. Since we cannot ban, as a local government, we cannot ban the method, we have to at least regulate the methods of using or applying pesticides. So this is the study area or the research area. So as you can see, it's very aesthetically nice to look at, though, because how defined these plantations are. But if you will zoom in, in these areas, you can see or you can find the horrors of pesticides application and the violations of these monocrop plantations have in these areas. So a critical message of this study is 22 pesticides banned or not approved in the EU but found in the household dust and urine samples collected in the Philippines. So 22 of these pesticides are found in the Philippines. So it's very alarming. And one pesticide is also banned in the Philippines but still widely used. So this means that there are, the policies in the Philippines are not really that strictly implemented, because there are still banned pesticides that are being widely used in the country, specifically in Davao City. So 22 pesticides, and most of these are highly hazardous pesticides, or 17 out of the 22 are considered highly hazardous pesticides. And these are the 7 terrible pesticides of PANAP found in household dust. So this was already discussed earlier by Dr. Choi. And of course, comparison of dust concentration by distance home to farm. So you can see that fungicide, herbicide, insecticide are have high concentration within plantations as compared to residences nearby or in far from the plantations, except in insecticide, where far areas have high concentration than the nearby. Yeah, so these are the the results also presented earlier by Dr. Choi, so I don't think I have to discuss it more further. But it is very alarming to also really find these 3 pesticides in the Philippines or in our samples. So in terms of urinary metabolite comparison, so we can still see that those areas near the plantation have high concentration as compared to other areas nearby or far from the plantations. So we can really surmise that buffer zones are really important to protect those residents living near or within banana plantations. Allow me to go back to this slide. So as you can see, these are residences. This one. So this is a pineapple plantation, and they are just located beside these plantations. So that is very critical to really put up the buffer zones. Actually, our laws require plantations to put up 30 to 40 meter buffer zones. But if you can see, I think Dr. Choi and Jay visited the area, and you can really see that there are no buffer zones established in these plantations. So with this result, it would really help us to lobby for the strict implementation of this buffer zone. Another critical message is the highest concentration of insecticides was detected in the dust samples collected from farmers' houses within 30 meter of the plantation. So that is a house of one of our Bantay Bukid volunteers. Bantay Bukid is a forest guard. So they monitor, they implement policies in the ground. So his house is located just beside a pineapple plantation. As you can see, there are no buffer zones surrounding his house. And urinary pesticide metabolites were the highest in the subject group living within the 30 meter of the farm. And chlorpyrifos metabolite was shown as the major exposed pesticide in this study. And parathion in the Philippines were detected both in dust and urine samples. So that is an alarming finding or result. And prior to this study, we also conducted a drift study before in 2012. I think this was in partnership with PANAP. Yeah? And we tested air samples. I'm sorry. There. So 12 of which are banned in the Philippines. So 18 pesticides and breakdown products were found in the air samples in 2012, and 12 of which are banned in the Philippines. In 2012, chlorothalonil is the most detected pesticide, followed by diazinon and phenithrothion. However, in this current study, there are 7 compounds that are included as terrible pesticides of PANAP. And in addition to the results found in 2012, 22 banned or not approved in EU were detected in dust and urine samples. So this study that we conducted in partnership with Wonjin Institute and of course with the support of KFIF is an additional argument for the strict implementation of our policies to what we had conducted in 2012, because we tested the air samples and now we tested the urine and dust samples of within the area. And diazinon, malathion, and chlorpyrifos were constantly detected in both 2012 and 2022 studies. So these 3 organophosphates were detected in 2012 and of course in 2022 studies. And chlorothalonil was the most detected pesticides in 2012, while in 2022 chlorpyrifos metabolite was shown as the major exposed pesticide in this current study. So upcoming campaign, so presentation of results to the local stakeholders. Actually, Davao City is currently celebrating our organic month. So with the consent from the Wonjin Institute, we presented this study. As far as our result is concerned, we presented this in a roundtable discussion with the Fertilizers and Pesticide Authority, with the Department of Agriculture, and policymakers in the city. No, we proposed, we presented this, and they were very alarmed because there are still pesticides considered as highly hazardous that are being used in Davao, and one is banned in Davao. So they were asking FPA, or Fertilizers Pesticide Authority, how is this possible? So this is an important study to reevaluate and for FPA to reconsider the updating of the banned pesticides in the country. And of course, conduct a forum with plantation companies, because accountability and responsibility of this plantation should also be highlighted, because they are responsible for every sickness and every untoward incidents that are happening in their plantations. Promotion of results and policy recommendations through multimedia and newsletters, lobby and enactment of resolution for the Department of Environment and Natural Resources to intensify buffer zone requirements and pesticide spraying monitoring. So before these monocrop plantations operate, they are required to secure an ECC, an environmental compliance certificate. And one of the requirements in their ECC is for them to put up a buffer zone. So if they are located near a watershed or near a body of water, they are required to put up a 40-meter buffer zone. And if they're within residents, they are required to put up 30-meter buffer zone. But these are not implemented on the ground. So we are lobbying and not requesting but demanding the DNR to really to intensify the buffer zone requirement in these plantations, and to lobby for the additional chemicals, especially the highly hazardous pesticides, to be banned by the Fertilizer and Pesticides Authority. So we are now preparing the resolution for our city council to pass in order for the Fertilizers and Pesticides Authority to reconsider in their list of banned chemicals. And lastly, lobby for the passage of local agriculture regulatory code that will include appropriate buffer zone requirements, low drift spraying methods, alternative chemical solutions, healthy safety standards, and creation of technical and monitoring group committee. Right now, we already have the draft ordinance, because as a policy advocacy organization, we always draft the ordinance and propose this to our city councilors or to our policymakers. So we already drafted the ordinance, and it will be presented after this study, or after this presentation rather, it will be presented to the city council for their appropriate action. So that's all. Kamsahamnida. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po.
So our results are already being utilized in our neighboring countries, where these are used to make more powerful policies, which is very meaningful. Well, one of the important things for MCs is to keeping time. It's already past noon. So some of you are meeting for the first time today, and you are sharing all this very valuable information with us. I couldn't stop you. So we are running a little behind schedule. So we have 1 hour schedule for lunch, but we may want to reduce that lunch hour to give you more time to speak. I hope you understand. So
the 4 organizations share their experiences so far, and then in Korea, our civic organizations and the authorities are having a lot of efforts to reduce the pesticides residing in food and vegetables. And then we had the good and bad experiences so far. And then if we share our experience together, I hope that it can contribute to your work going forward. Now we will invite Head of the Quality Control Division of Hansalim, Mr. Seung-gyu Lee. And then Hansalim is one of the biggest civic organization in Korea. They have been very prominent and present in the efforts to reduce the pesticide in food and farming. Good morning, everyone. I am Seung-gyu Lee from Hansalim. Nice to meet you all. So after hearing all the presentations so far, the discussions or the presentations that we are here here are very important, and I believe that my opportunity is a very precious one. And Hansalim, if I can introduce it first, it was started in 1986. It started because the producers who do the farming, the producers they recognized the need to reduce the chemicals or the pesticide in their farming, and there were also many consumers, a growing number of consumers who recognized the perception of the producers. So in 1986, we came up to connect the two sides. And when we started the shop, this is the photo of our first shop. This is one of the producers back then. So we bridged the consumers and the producers. And then this is the promotional photos that we have produced back then. Hansallim, which is composed of Han plus Salim. Han means one, whole, or altogether in Korean, or Salim means saving. So it means that all life is one and we save all life. So the Hansalim movement, through this, we try to save agriculture, save the table at households, and save life at the end of the day. And for us to do, we took the legal form of consumer cooperative. So we are consumer cooperative, and to fit the form, all the main issues of the organization are addressed and decided through the involvement of the consumers, producers, and us. And please, the next page. Okay. And this photo, our producers made up the concept. This is 3 beans. So when they plant beans, they put 3 beans on soil. One is for the germ in the soil, and the other one is for the birds, and the other is for people. So this is the philosophy of the producers at the early stage of our movement. And so Hansalim is to save the life of humankind, but also to the life of our planet. So in the early days of Hansalim, we started with producers who did not use pesticides or chemical fertilizers. And to save the agriculture or to save the farmers, so we try to reflect the reality of Korea back then. So we allowed some use of the pesticides. So we have the 3 types of or multiple types of the certification. I mean that low use of pesticides, no use of pesticides, or organic. So we also certification of national origin or imported. But in principle, producers try to not to use pesticides, and we have 2,200 farmers, and we have the membership of 800,000 consumers now. And we focus on the food ingredients and also provide live items, and we generate sales of 550 billion Korean won. And in the early 2000s, in Korea, the government enacted an eco-friendly certification law. By that, it was required for the producers to have the certification. So by using those marks, we can see, or the consumers can see, that whether the produce, the agricultural produce, have used pesticides or no pesticides. And at the initial eco-friendly certification law, it was set up as to apply 3 stages, like organic, non-pesticide, and low pesticide. So at the early stage, we had low pesticide certification under the law. So this was the government state certification practice. And since then, as the social demand for safe food has increased along with the economic growth of Korea, so there has been calls for safe food. So Hansa Lim encouraged producers, or required the producers, to earn the certification for a limited number of produce. And also, Hansa Lim, often by itself, introduced its own certification program. And some of the fruits are allowed to use pesticides, like 6 to 7% of the fruits. But even in that case, the management of the level of the pesticides used is very thoroughly and rigidly managed. So we listed up the pesticides that are banned from use, and basically pesticides and then we also put the requirement of use of the timing of use of the pesticides, like that the pesticides can be used only 7 days before the harvest. That kind of thing is all set up in the law. So we manage the use of the pesticides, like allowing only a couple of days of use for each different crops. So based on that criteria that we are in place, the producers plan ahead for the entire year, and they also keep the journal how and how much they used. As I told you, the eco-friendly certification was led by the government. Currently, we have the downside of that practice, because as the demand for safe agricultural products in Korea has intensified, consumers understand that it's a system that produces only safe agricultural products rather than restoring a sustainable production environment. So the test of the residue of the pesticides is very important for Korean consumers. So the biggest concern is that. So that was how consumers accepted the safe food. So because of that practice, there was less focus on the sustainable production environment. So the green bars show the organic food. So 6% to us, 14% for EU, and 23% for US. That represents the pesticide residue. for the organic produce. And then light green bars represent the ordinary general agricultural produce. So the biggest portion of the residue is the arsenic acid and soil pollution and water pollution, and also by mistake of the producers, because they used the same tools and machines for agriculture, for both for the organic farming and non-organic farming. But still, the level of residue in produce is very low. But the consumers and the state legislation is very rigid for the requirement and the standards. So it was very strict practice or enforcement of the law to the producers. So we are trying to fix the conception or the perception of the safe food or safe agriculture for consumers and for producers. And the certification started 1990s, and even before that, Hansan-Lim started certification. So we used this mark to show the certification. So this is showing of our commitment so that the consumers can trust us and buy from us. So this mark is the evidence of eco-friendly farming. But the government put in place the certification law and practice, and now we are encouraging producers to sustainably certify their produce. So for us to encourage the organic farming, we do a lot of work. First, the system that we are using for that purpose is that first is a contract system. So the producers and consumers, they meet together to know in advance the amount of the consumption, the produce to be consumed and the price level of those produces, so that the producers can know in advance how much they have to produce at what price level. And secondly, important matters such as the price and the amount of the produce are always discussed and decided together by producers, consumers, and Hansan-Lim workers. And during the meetings, all the three parties are involved. And the next system is for the producers. So this is direct transaction system, which is to allow producers to set up the price to be 70% of the selling price. And lastly, we also do a lot of activities to encourage the producers and consumers to have continuous connection so that both parties can fulfill their responsibilities. So now the producers are responsible for the health of the consumers, and consumers are also responsible for encouraging producers to continue to save farming of the produce that reach our table. There has been many improvements and many shortcomings, but it have been reduced and improved. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hansan-Lim, your focus was to connect closely or networking between producers and consumers. It is thanks to the law or the guidelines by the government, but Hansan-Lim is practicing more thorough or stricter guidelines themselves. What we prepared is Korean version, but we will make sure that those materials are translated in English at a later time for your reference. And among the domestic participants, we have a gentleman coming from Masan, which is very far away from here. And he is Mr. Jin Hyun-guk from Korea Federation for Eco-Friendly Free School Meals. He's the chairperson. There are 30% of the agricultural produce are used for the school meals in Korea. And in Korea, I don't know what are the reality in other countries, but school meals, the standard for school meals is very high level and very strict. So the school meal model, which is very recommendable to other countries. So please welcome him.
Hello, everyone. I am Jin Hyun-guk. Nice to meet you. So I think my job now is very important one. I have to make sure that you enjoy healthy food as soon as possible. So that's my role, I think. So I need to finish early. The sooner the better. So the history of free school meal of Korea, it started with foreign aid in 1953. In the middle of the Korean War, and when the war ended, we were receiving foreign aid. And in 1981, the school meal law was enacted, but until that law was enforced in earnest, it took another 10 years. And since mid-1990s, the school meal was implemented, and around 2000, it was rolled out in full throughout the nation. And at that time, it was outsourced meal service at that time. So the vendors providing this outsourcing company, their profit, of course, was the most important for the companies. So they were using cheapest possible ingredients, for instance. So that was how the meals were provided. So there were a lot of accidents, food poisoning, or some stability accidents, and so on. So some citizens and parents, starting from early 2000s, this is for our children, and we see a problem here. So they started to voice these issues, and that spread throughout the nation as a resident movement. So on the left is the movement in Suwon City to enact the ordinance in 2005. So the residents will sign the plea and put it in the box. So we have to pass the criteria for the plea, and then the local government will decide whether they will enact an ordinance or not. So this was done by the residents themselves. In 2012, in Pohang City, ordinance was enacted, the photo from that. So we have been making these efforts over the years. And in Korean society, in our community, the eco-friendly free school meal agenda was established as a major agenda of our times. So two things happened. In 2010-11, Woo Se-un, Seoul City Mayor, he was against the free school meal. He put it to vote. So actually, he had to step down as a result. And left photo shows in 2010 local election, the candidates of metropolitan municipality had election. So they were holding press conferences and signing as well. Another major event happened in 2014. The free school meal was suspended. This happened in Gyeongnam province. The governor at that time was Hong Jun-pyo, he has some conflict with the education office of the province. So the free school meal budget was not appropriated, so the service stopped. So more than 10,000 parents participated in this major demonstration. So this fight went on for 3 years. And afterwards, the free school meal was resumed, but in Gyeongnam community, it has a major impact on the community, socially and economically. So if you look at the right-hand side photo, our children were out on the street. The students were holding press conferences and holding pickets to demonstrate. And at least the radioactivity or GMO or pesticide-free school meal is our goal. So for this goal, we have been strengthening these standards on a social level. And here again, as you know, radioactivity, our nearest, closest neighbor, Japan, Fukushima power plant accident happened, of course. So the fisheries products, we have a major concerns from Japan. And when it comes to GMO, in 2017, some GMO, including ingredients from China, ended up in Korea due to poor customs control. So the GMOs are known to cause cancer in health. So this could be a major risk to the Korean people's health. So this is something that we must stop from entering our territories. So all these tasks, so we enacted different laws for School Meal Act and so on. By enacting framework laws for food and food safety, and for instance, for producers and rural communities, we also enacted a framework law for them. So by doing so, we want to create sustainable agriculture. But there are still some gaps. So by advising the existing School Meal Act and Infant Care Act and Early Childhood Education Act, so on, especially when it comes to laws, eco-friendly free school meal, free public food service expansion, we still lack an actual action plan. And in the School Meal Act, including the kindergarten and the elementary, middle, and high schools are to receive the support. But now a lot of local municipalities are supporting the infant care facilities, the nurseries. So we want to expand it to the wider population. And to do that, what's most important is eco-friendly food ingredients and organic ingredients. Eco-friendly agricultural produce should be stably supplied. So we need to establish that supply chain, public supply system, where there should be some standards and principles. So eco-friendliness should come first. And JP certified ingredients are used, then that means it's herbicide free, and then the local produce and Korean produce should take the priority. So antibiotics free. So these criteria we need to have. So also covering GMOs should be banned. Same for fisheries products. We need to expand the local domestic produce. So these are some of the efforts that we have to continue to make over the years. So when we talk about this, the world is facing climate change challenge. So climate change is translating into food crisis, and this is one of the homeworks for us. So carbon neutrality, zero carbon, is a homework for us. So zero carbon, to capture and store carbon. New technologies in that regard is important, but what's even more important, the soil itself. By utilizing the power of soil, how can we lower the concentration of carbon in the air? I think that's even more important than these other technologies. So to do that, we have to change our soil into organic soil. So the food ingredients, agriculture produced, grown in that soil, and the food and ingredients should have a sales network, a distribution network, to be sold to citizens. So this should be easily accessible by anyone in Korea. So this also will establish the basic right to safe food. So I think this is one of the most important practice items for us. So as you may know, in 2020, 39 billion tons of carbon was emitted. The top emitter was China with 100 tons. Second place, U.S. 5 billion tons. China was 10 billion tons. U.S. 5 billion tons, and Korea 0.6 billion tons, ninth place in the world. So the atmospheric carbon can be captured in soil in large quantity. So we have to restore and revive the soil, the earth. We can start create that from supply of safe food and food ingredients. And I'm going to share with you two cases, Bucheon City and Seoul City. So in Bucheon City, it was quite unique because they included daycare center for infants. That's unique. So on the table for the children, eco-friendly rice, safe food ingredients like antibiotics-free livestock products and so on. So these ingredients are used in making food for these children in Bucheon City. So there are supporting organizations, which is eco-friendly food service centers. So they have operating committees and various committees. So they have public-private governance, partnership governance. They are solving these issues together. And the operating committee at the Bucheon City is not just there to advise and recommend. They actually get involved in the actual operation of these food service centers. So the public food service status, please refer to the slide. So in Bucheon, so they are planning to expand this public food service by utilizing the free school meal. So they're planning to roll out the comprehensive plan. So the most important is they take the citizen participation. They give it a priority. So they start with what they can do now. So rather than paying cash, they focus on priority is more on the providing the food stuff. So these are some of the basic principles of Bucheon City. Next, the case of Seoul City. So when it comes to Seoul City, this is about urban-rural win-win. meal service example. So for instance, primary agricultural produce, 70% of it is eco-friendly. That's the recommended. So for that, in Seoul, where there are no producers, they are partnering with through MOU with other rural municipalities, and from whom it is being supplied with the safe and healthy food ingredients. So this case of urban-rural partnership, so in Seoul, of 25 districts of Seoul, 13 of the districts are doing the public food service. So what it is about? So one district of Seoul select one local area and receive safe and healthy food from that municipality. Not always eco-friendly, not always organic, but at least eco-friendly. So applying higher, more strict standards for food safety. So in that process, whole city government is providing different support. Mostly the focus is on the nurseries and kindergarten for children. So through these cases, the city, urban, and rural areas can together create a sustainable society. So that's the model that they're creating, and through that model, so eco-friendly agriculture, environmental friendly agriculture, that means fertilizers and pesticides reduction. So this program is playing a huge role there. And taking it further, all the Korean citizens should be able to enjoy that basic right. If that happens, at least Korea will be safe from synthetic fertilizer and HHPs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So he talked about the safety of food, which is the basic rights of the citizens. So please. So we have the one question from the floor from Professor Park. Before you go for lunch, will just one question from him? So everybody in this room, I don't know if you are well aware of the practice or the reality in Korea. So and then the free school meals, free lunch at schools may be very new to you, those who came from other countries. So the school meals are provided to school children during lunch. So you may not know it well, but so the presenter talked about the advantages of the free school meals on the environment, as well as health, labor, and environment. So can you tell us what other impacts the free school meals can have on the labor, the environment, the food system, and any other aspects of the society, not just on the environment? Okay, so all the food that we consume, we think they are public goods. So that's our philosophy. And school meals, it is very generic and general welfare for all the people in Korea. That should be the starting point of our practice, because we want to have a nation where every child can benefit without any discrimination. So So the children are brought to the producing farms, and then we encourage them to experience all the food chain or food producing processes. So our education is not only about the farming, but also their personality and education. And even before the free meal system was rolled out, our children were checked if the system is suitable for our children. So, and after six months after the system, we also checked the health of our children, and then the finding is that the children's health has improved a great deal. So we found out very meaningful result out of the system rollout. So more specifics can be utilized by the government agencies and other organizations so that we can have a better provision of food to our children at school. I don't know if my answer answered your question. Thank you very much.